The Unshakables podcast is kicking off Season 2 with an episode you won't want to miss. Join host Ben Walter, CEO of Chase for Business, as he welcomes a very special guest, Chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. Hear about the challenges facing small businesses and some of the uh-oh moments Jamie has overcome. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. Member FDIC. Copyright 2025. JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with the Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures. Where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes. Where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities. Where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife. And where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or dsw.com.
Episode 479, Meal Planning to Save Money and Reduce Food Waste with Jess Dang.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are talking about food waste, how to reduce it, because we believe it is the biggest waste when it comes to your money. We can save dollars by shopping sales, but we waste tens of dollars through throwing away food. And so this is going to be a big focus for us this year. And it's just like not great for the environment either. So that's where we're focusing today.
Yeah, pairing these two things together is so important. Not just meal planning, but also how can we meal plan so that we're not throwing away as much food. And Jess is the perfect person to answer these questions.
But first, this episode is brought to you by 14 days. If you, like me, are thinking about food, I mean, we just recently, last year, said we spend about 20,000 minutes a year just planning food. But what if we could have that food planned for us for 2 weeks? You
I love that.
You
what a good
can.
dream.
Because Cook Smarts, the meal planning service started by Jess Dang, our guest today, is offering 14 days free. And if you pay for a subscription, you get 20% off. And that's at frugalfriendspodcast.com/cooksmarts. Or if you're short on time, frugalfriendspodcast.com/CS. Either one will get it for you. But and I know after this interview, you are going to want to check it out because so much thought and intention goes into the meal plans that Jess and her team create. And you are definitely going to want to see what that intention is for 14 days. And that's 8 meals, essentially, because they do 4 meals a week. And so get it. frugalfriendspodcast.com/cooksmarts. That's with an S at the end. And give yourself, a couple hundred minutes back over the next few weeks.
Yeah, we're all going to need it. I mean, once the holidays are over, it's like we're coming out of a coma and
Yeah.
our brains have to work again, but they're not working.
And we have
quite yet,
these
so-
great plans for January. And by January 24th, they are kind of in the pooper sometimes. So let's revitalize. Let this episode kind of be a rejuvenation for your motivation. Last year, we focused a lot on simple meal planning, low ingredient, efficient meal planning in an effort to reduce food waste. So leading up to this, if you want to check out those episodes, we've got episode 458, The Key to Simple and Budget-Friendly Meal Plans with Mandy Clentz, and episode 416, Simplified Meal Planning, where we talk about low ingredient meal plans. So you can search those numbers on our frugalfriendspodcast.com website, or search the title plus Frugal Friends in your podcast player to find those episodes.
So again, Jess Stang is the founder of Cook Smarts, this online meal planning service that we've been talking about that has been around since 2013. They make some incredible recipes. They're just coming out with an app for the phone. So lots of cool new stuff happening, but they've also been around for a while doing it. So she's able to now share with us from her expert experience. Let's get into it.
Jess, welcome back to Frugal Friends podcast. It's always so lovely having you here and talking about food.
I'm so glad to be back. And this is just the perfect time to be talking about food and saving money on food, because food is really expensive right now.
You are our dynamite guest. We often don't invite people back to the show except for when they've got some really great, helpful, tangible tips to share. We talk about you in our friend letter as well. So
all the time.
It only makes sense. But here we are talking about not just meal planning, but also food waste. This seems like a really good place to focus on in 2025. But I do want to hear from you before we get to all of that. What you see are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to meal planning.
Oh gosh. Well, clearly the biggest mistake is just not meal planning, like not doing it and just going, just like some people can improv, but I think it takes a lot of experience. So if you're not someone that can just come up with meals, you really do need a meal plan and go to the grocery store with a list, because that's the biggest mistake, is walking into a grocery store without a list, like knowing what you need to buy, because then you're just going, you're just buying things you don't know what you're going to be doing with. And that is what I think leads to the biggest amount of food waste. So I think, and also just overcomplicating it. It doesn't have to be something that's super complex. It's got to be something that's simple that you can do every single week. And so at the end of the day, it's like, you have to just think about, like, what are the things that you will do every single week, make it simple, and you make sure you have a grocery list and make sure you have a process in place.
What would indicate a complicated meal plan to you? Like if you were to see it, be like, that's too complicated, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the mistakes people make, or maybe the like misconceptions, is that meal planning means that you're cooking every single night, which is definitely not the case, right? Like, I think to me, meal planning is putting together like what you plan on eating during the week. And that can be a combination of leftovers as well as takeout, or even things that are like, frozen foods that like are already in the freezer, that are already prepared. So it's really not about feeling like you have to cook every single day. So if I saw a meal plan where someone was like, I'm going to cook every single day, and it's like every day is going to be a new recipe, like that to me would be like over complicated meal plan. I think a lot of people forget to build in, like, there's leftovers nights, or if you take, you made a big pot of slow cooker chicken one night, that can be, one meal, but the next night it can be chicken tacos, right? So there's like a lot of efficiencies that can be built into place to make not only your meal planning less complex, but also clearly the execution of your meal plan less complex.
I appreciate taking some of that pressure off, because I think that's been a part of my journey as I've kind of gotten better at meal planning and cooking at home, has been these times where I think it's got to look really beautiful, and every day needs to be new flavors, and
the
I need to
healthiest
keep
meals.
and the healthiest. And even for
Yeah.
myself, I've thought I need to keep it exciting and engaging for me, which is
Right.
true in part, but it then led to I'm making new meals every single day and
Yeah.
using unusual ingredients. And it just started to get to be too much, where then I'm like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
hate meal planning, because I then equated it to I've got to constantly be doing new and fresh and exciting and innovative, and I can't keep
No,
up with that.
yeah. Not at all. And I think like everyone has meals that they love, right? And those, if you want to make the meals you love like every single week, that's great. Then you just fill in a little bit and that helps it. If you know this is like, Monday I'm cooking a meal, it's one of my top fives, then you're going to want to cook it and actually execute on the plan that you created, right? And then you fill in with like one or two new meals a week. And that to me is like plenty. It's like to have to because every time you're starting a new recipe, like you really do have to refer to the recipe itself to know how to make the meal. So it's just going to take longer. So I think a lot of times I talk about these back pocket meals. Like everyone should have anywhere from like a dozen to 24 back pocket meals that they could make like in their sleep, and you don't need to refer to a recipe. You can wing it a little bit because maybe you're out of chicken thighs, you can sub in something else. But those are the recipes that I think you make 2 or 3 every week, and then the rest you kind of fill in with something new that's going to take you a little bit longer, and you save those either for the beginning of the week where you have more energy, or like the weekends when there's more time.
I always say Sunday Jen, who made the meal plan, is not the same as Wednesday Jen, who then has to execute it. So Sunday Jen has to be very cognizant of the person Wednesday Jen and Thursday and Friday, etc. Jen is.
And that happens to me too. And I'm a professional meal planner. Like I do, I make these meal plans and I'm always constantly trying to like be in the kitchen developing new recipes. And I often don't like the Thursday, Friday, like I don't always stick to the meal plan. I think one of the things when you're talking about food waste, when you're sort of ordering your meal plan, I always try to order for the things that are going to spoil first, right? So like make those as soon as, the days after you grocery shop. So like there's just things that are more perishable, like leafy greens, those types of things. Like if I know those are on the menu, I try to make those, early in the week so they don't spoil. If I save them for the end, maybe you don't have the energy and you're just, or like someone invites you out to dinner or something. So those things, like the things that are less perishable, like carrots, potatoes, cabbage, those are the kinds of vegetables that you can kind of save to the end of the week. And so even if you don't end up making that like Thursday, Friday meal, those things are going to last for another week or two, and you can always kind of push those meals to the next week, and you're not dealing with like, spoiled vegetables that you have to throw away.
I love that you think about that and you consider that. And because your meal plans, they prioritize these ingredient efficiencies. And I would love to hear more of that. That sounds like one of them, what you just said. But like using the leafy greens up front. But tell us about these ingredient efficiencies and like how you use them in meal planning.
Yeah. So a lot of it is like thinking about proteins, right? Those are often the main part of the meal. And so if you're spending time cooking proteins, whether it's fish or beans or land roaming proteins like chicken, I always like to think about like how do we double up on those so that we can have them either for lunch leftovers, or it can be creatively repurposed into a whole different meal. And so we have these things called dependencies within our meal plan service where one day you might make a big pot of beans and it's like the filler for taco, and then you have them ready for stew the next day. It's very similar. We made like recently like a big pot of slow cooked pork, and slow cooked pork was, it's great for sandwiches one day. And then we used it later on in the week as the protein for a salad. Even if you don't repurpose it for another night's dinner, it's great to have these proteins like ready to go for lunches. I don't know. I have 3 young kids. I'm constantly thinking about like, what am I going to pack them for lunch? And so today was one of those things where like we'd made a big batch of tofu earlier, over the weekend. And so I was like, okay, great. I have tofu and I have some leftover rice. So that was their lunch today. So it doesn't really, proteins is what's great about proteins is it doesn't really take much extra work, especially if you're like slow cooking it or roasting in the oven, maybe a little bit more chopping. But, whether you're slow cooking 4 servings of meat or protein or tofu or beans versus 8, it's going to take you pretty much the same amount of time. So that's a really great way to, save time, not only from the cooking perspective, but like also just having one less thing to think about, later on. And it's also that it's a way to like take advantage of sales. I think proteins are one of the things I would say, like, do shop the sales for proteins. If there's a good deal on a protein that you use often in your meal planning and your cooking, like that is one thing that you should take advantage of sales. There's a lot of sales I would say like steer away from because it's kind of like, I should buy this because it's on sale. But if you are not going to use it, then that's not going to save you money in the long run and also probably cause more food waste.
How about leftovers? Like in addition to maybe the proteins that you're like cook twice or cook once, use twice sort of thing. Like what other leftover repurposing things do you use commonly?
Oh, we actually have the whole infographic on this. I wish I had it in front of me. But we take things and turn them into, leftover sandwiches. Anything can be made into like a filling for a burrito, right? Like sort of like things that are like, I think about our members like, oh, I had like leftover X, Y, and Z and I put into a sandwich or I put it on top of a pizza. A lot of times, like you can just take something left over, like the odds and ends of vegetables that you have a little bit left of at the end of a week, throw them into a stir fry. It's really easy also to turn leftovers into a soup. I honestly think like you can just add like a little bit of broth and some pasta and you have some leftover veggies. Like that's really like a whole new meal. So think about things where there's like a lot of ingredients usually mixed together where it doesn't so much matter like what the ingredients are. There's like usually some sort of like, foundation or binder, whether it's like bread in a sandwich or tortilla in a burrito or like broth in a soup. So those are things we often just will combine. And and I think the more you do it, like just like the better you get at it, it's like a fun creative muscle to flex. And then you'll be like, wow, I'm just so awesome in the kitchen because I like came up with this, fun new way to like turn my leftovers into something else versus just like throwing them away or just like, being sad that you're eating the same meal over again.
Yum. It's giving me such great ideas.
2025 is here and Mint Mobile is ready to help you stick to your money goals by saving some serious cash when you make the switch to Mint Mobile. Because right now, you can get half off their 3-month unlimited plan.
Mint Mobile is dropping huge savings for the new year by offering any 3-month plan for only $15 a month, even their unlimited plan. And you don't have to sacrifice quality wireless service. Mint Mobile provides high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Switch to Mint and new customers can get half off an unlimited plan until February 2nd. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Trust isn't just earned, it's demanded. Whether you're a startup founder navigating your first audit or a seasoned security professional scaling your GRC program, proving your commitment to security has never been more critical or more complex. That's where Vanta comes in. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs over 35 frameworks, like SOC 2 and ISO 27001. Centralize security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Vanta can help you start or scale your security program by connecting you with auditors and experts to conduct your audit and set up your security program quickly. Plus, with automation and AI throughout the platform, Vanta gives you time back so you can focus on building your company. Join over 9,000 global companies like Atlassian, Quora, and Factory who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, our audience gets $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/special. That's VANTA.com/special for $1,000 off.
Okay, business leaders, are you playing defense or are you on the offense? Are you just, excuse me. Hey, I'm trying to talk business here. As I was saying, are you here just to play or are you playing to win? If you're in it to win, meet your next MVP, NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is your full business management system in one suite. With NetSuite, you're running your accounting, your financials, HR, e-commerce, and more, all from your online dashboard. One source of truth means every department's working from the same numbers with no data delays. And with AI embedded throughout, you're automating manual tasks, plus getting fast insights for your next move. Whether you're competing on your home turf or looking to conquer international markets, NetSuite helps you get the W. Over 40,000 businesses have already made the move to NetSuite, the #1 cloud ERP.
Right now, get the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/stereo. Get this free guide at netsuite.com/stereo.
Okay, guys.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
This is also making me think, though, Jess, about the people who might not feel so confident in the kitchen. Like, when you're saying these things, it's clicking for me, and there's puzzle pieces kind of connecting, or dots connecting, whatever. It's all happening. And yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to do that. But what do you see for somebody? Like, how much does cooking confidence play into following through with a meal plan, or feeling as though, they can be creative in the kitchen? Like, where does that confidence with cooking and their skill set in the kitchen like, how does that play into this?
Yes. Clearly, like, some people are just like naturally creative, whether it's in the kitchen or, in visual arts or whatever it is. But I think everyone can become better at any skill, right? And for those that don't feel like they have that natural talent, it's just a lot of practicing, right? Like, I think, it sounds like I have young kids and they're like, I'm not good at this. I'm like, no, like, it's just because you haven't done it enough. And so I think a lot of it is just putting in that time. And it's one of those things where, like, no one walks into the kitchen knowing how to use a knife like proficiently on day one. So I think a lot of it is just putting in that time and that practice. And also using all the resources that are out there. There are so many recipe resources. There are so many meal planning resources that are free. Like, you don't have to pay anybody. There's tons on the internet. And just as you're using them, kind of understand, like, don't just follow it on autopilot, but really understand, like, why, like, what is this recipe? What is the formula or the foundation behind the recipe? And I think when you kind of go down one layer to understand, like, well, most soups start with some like onions, and then they put in a few more vegetables, and then they put in the protein, whatever it is. So kind of understanding those steps. And I think seeing those sort of foundation layers of things helps you then go and be creative on your own, because like, well, this is how most soups start, or this is how a stir fry is made, or how a curry is made. So I think a lot of it, I talk about it, the analogy I use is like GPS these days. Like, we all get into our car and we put the address into our phone, and we're just on like autopilot, and we follow, and we're like, oh, we have no idea like what our neighborhood looks like, or how to actually get from like point A to point B. We followed our phones. Yeah. And that's it is amazing. It's, like, we can do that. And it's amazing to have, like, just print out a recipe from the internet, or look at it on your iPad and just like follow it, but not really think like, oh, like, why are we doing these things? Or like, how do we get from point A to that finished product? And so I think we just take a little bit of time to just uncover like, okay, what were the steps? Why were these ingredients ordered in this way? Oh, like, actually, like, making a curry is really just like, coconut milk and a little bit of broth and some, like, curry paste. I think kind of seeing like those, like, these sort of core ingredients that go into a lot of the things that we make. If you take the time to like uncover that, that really helps you then be able to like steer away from recipes at some point, right? Like, that you have the confidence to be like, oh, I actually know how to make this because I know what the core ingredients that go into X meal.
It's so true. So much of food has become demystified for me as I've spent more time in the kitchen, like even making my own salad dressings and
Yes.
making my own kind of like base ingredients. Not that I'm always and forever going to make my own mayo or make my own bread or make my own, but it really helps with that barrier to entry to understand that, oh, these things aren't actually that complex. Usually I have the core ingredients to make this thing. And it helps me to feel more confident in being able to utilize substitutions, to not feel
Yes,
so
totally.
beholden to a certain recipe exactly how it is, when you can kind of understand a little bit more of the core and foundations. And I think as you're talking too, it's helping me to realize that in some ways, meal planning is a little bit fruitless if we don't consider food waste in that process. That we could just throw out things that we want to eat that week, but if we aren't considering where there's crossover of ingredients and how we might be able to utilize leftovers, we really might not see that much cost savings with it. And so I think it's really helpful to kind of hear what you're describing here of how we can go about meal planning with some of these like ingredients that will be efficient throughout the week, and keeping in mind some of these core ways that we can reuse ingredients throughout the week is helpful in pairing these two. Like, yes, start with a meal plan, but like very soon it needs to be paired with thinking about food waste.
Yes, it really does. And I think learning how to read a recipe and understand like what is important to the recipe, like, because a lot of times we feel like we have to buy every single thing a recipe lists in order to make it. Like there's people just, want to like just make sure like I have all of this and I'm going to make it exactly how it's stated. And I don't really believe that. I think there's a lot of these sort of core ingredients like spices that you'll use a lot, not even, across cuisines. But then there's like these sort of like a little bit more niche things that like if you see like you only need a quarter teaspoon of this, it's like, well, yeah, it'll add, of course, a little bit to the finished product, but like you can also miss it. Like that's how I tell people, like you see a recipe and there's like 10 spices listed. Look at the ones where you're like putting in a lot of the amount. Like those are the ones that are really going to create that flavor, that like, foundational flavor. And the other stuff, like it'll make a difference. But if you don't have it and you don't want to spend money on it, because then you're like, you bought it and you don't, you use a quarter teaspoon and then you never use it again. Like that is what, even if it's, while it's sitting in your drawer, it's still like it's waste in terms of it's taking up room. And so I just think it's to help people think through, like, do you need everything in a recipe? And oftentimes you do not. And then there are also like these great kind of crossover ingredients. The way we think about meal planning, it's like, okay, if we put some cilantro in one meal, we always try to find another meal to like help you use up the rest of that like bunch of cilantro, right? Because so oftentimes, like if you really do want to like buy the herb at all, like some people are just, we have so many members who are like, I just always skip the herbs, and that's totally fine too. But
that was me.
If you are gonna, if you are gonna buy it, we want to help you use the whole thing. And what's so great is if you actually think about cuisines, there's a lot of crossover, right? Like cilantro is used in Latin food, but it's also used in a lot of Asian food. So for us, it's always like, oh, we have cilantro and it's being used in tacos. Like we'll just find like, so we don't all have 2 Latin meals in a week. We'll like find something Asian because that's also a very popular herb in Asian cooking. There's just a lot of crossover when you think about things and sort of look at the Venn diagram of foods and cuisines.
Yeah, you were the one that got me making my own salad dressings when I was using Cook Smarts. Yes. And then Jill has said like I inspired her to make her own salad dressings.
Yep. And now it is all I do now because I'm just like, this is so easy. I'm not falling for it.
I would
waste $4 on
I
a
would
bottle.
waste salad dressings because I just don't want to use that salad dressing over and over. Whereas I could just know the base. You have these fantastic infographics with like these bases for things and then ways to come off of it. And then I have like 12 different options for salad dressings.
Yes. Yeah.
And instead of just one or 12 bottles of dressing.
A fantastic homemade Asian dressing on my salad for lunch today.
Yeah,
it still
and
tastes a little bit in my
all
mouth.
The ingredients. That's the thing with salad dressing. They're all just pantry ingredients that don't go bad, and it's vinegar and oil. Like oil can go bad, but like most people have those things lying around, and it's so easy to make your own, and you don't have to have all the jars taking up room. But yeah, I think it really goes back to these cooking formulas, right? It's like, so it's not just we have all these cooking formulas for all the meals we make, and salad dressing is just one of them. But it's like most things you can kind of see like what is the formula, and then you can just know like, oh yeah, like you said, so like being able to swap, being able to feel more confident about subbing things, because you're like, okay, well, this is just, I can sub the proteins, or I can sub these spices, or sub the vinegars. And it makes a big difference to understand the formulas behind what you're cooking.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a game changer for me, is learning more about how to cook and all of this stuff, because it does open up a lot of things that are simple. So like my limited meal cooking, is already limited because I don't want to know a lot about it. But when I have ventured out and learned more, like I can open up this realm of simple cooking and simplicity that I didn't have before. And I will never aspire to do fancy things in the kitchen. It's just like not my thing. But like it's opened up so much more on this like base level for me. And I actually follow through with my meal plan because I can simplify it. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about these ingredient efficiencies and kind of like knowing the cooking like formulas, baseline education. Are there any other heavy hitters for reducing food waste that you love, use, want to talk about?
Yeah. So I think a lot about comes to shopping, right? Because that is like sort of the source of the food waste. Food waste is how you shop, right? So I think a lot of it is always going to the store with a list, and not as much as you might want to, like really trying to stick to that list. I know that sometimes we can be thrown off by sales, right? Like, especially now it's like, oh, food is really expensive. But if it's something that's on sale and you're like, this is not something I know how to use or will use often, like it's just not worth buying that sale product, right? So I think a lot of it is just making that meal plan, knowing and what you just said, like making the meal plan so that like the meals themselves are things you will execute and include nights off, include, leftovers, whatever it is, and going to the store and buying the things that make sense for your life, right? I think there's a lot of aspirational buying in at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. We buy things thinking like, one day I'm going to cook this. It's like one day I'm going to like wear this outfit, but it's like, what is your life really like? And really understanding like those are the things that you should put in your cart, stick to the meal plan, and I think that will help people reduce a lot of food waste.
Yeah. You know what else helps people just in general?
Yeah, it's definitely not a waste.
The bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Yes.
Jess, every week we yell at our listeners and our guests alike and ask for them to share with us their bill for the week. And we would love to hear yours.
I love this. And I'm going a different direction. I'm going like a non-frugal direction. Yes. So I just got our CookSmart's bill, our CookSmart's credit card bill for the month of November. And it was the highest bill we've had for the year. And I'm really happy about that bill. And I want to tell you why. So we are we're a very lean company. We're remote. We run so leanly all year long, but we get together. Our meal planning team gets together once a year. and we like just go bananas. And like, you know, we're very excited to take time off from the kitchen, right? Like, so this year we went to Charleston and just ate like our hearts out. And the meals are just so good, and it really inspires us to like get to eat like really interesting meals. There's a lot of, you know, it gives our like creative juices going. And so I think a lot of it is like, you know, sort of what you guys preach. It's like you're frugal about the things that you need to be frugal about so that you can buy like something special for yourself. So you are like saving up for those like special moments or special things that you want. And for us, that was what, like, you know, we get together just once a year, and we don't want to worry about like, oh, like, is this in the budget? And because all year long we have stuck to the budget, and we are, you know, we're a lean company, like I said. And so we just go all out, and I'm always happy to pay that bill because it's like produces such great memories. And so that is the one time I'm like, I'm totally fine and happy with a higher bill, because the rest of the time we were very responsible and good.
And I would like to remind the audience, you had one of my other most favorite bills of all time.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember.
Oh, you paid for your, I don't know if she was an employee at the time or co-owner, maternity leave bill.
Yes.
You paid maternity leave for her, and that was a bill you were happy to pay. And all-time one of my favorite bills for the
thanks
show.
for reminding me of that. I totally forgot. But yeah, we're like a small little company of 12 people, and we want people to like take time off and enjoy meals when we're all together. And yeah, I'm always happy to do that because we were responsible the other times, but then we get to enjoy when, you know, because we were responsible.
Oh, this makes me so happy. And I would argue that this is still being responsible with the money. It is still, it's an intentional decision, and it is aligned with your values, and it's supporting the things that make you come alive and inspire you and help you to feel creative. And there's so many things we can point to about why this was a good money decision. And we are so supportive of it. Thanks for sharing that. If you all listening have a bill you want to share, if it's about a high bill that you don't mind paying because it aligns with your values, if it's about not needing to pay a bill, if it's about paying for an employee's maternity leave, you know we love just celebrating all of it. frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Can't wait to hear yours.
Love it.
2025 is here, and Mint Mobile is ready to help you stick to your money goals by saving some serious cash when you make the switch to Mint Mobile. Because right now, you can get half off their 3-month unlimited plan.
Mint Mobile is dropping huge savings for the new year by offering any 3-month plan for only $15 a month, even their unlimited plan. And you don't have to sacrifice quality wireless service. Mint Mobile provides high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Switch to Mint, and new customers can get half off an unlimited plan until February 2nd. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
You guys know I'm always up for a good MVP story, and one of the best is the story of Wasabi Technologies. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, data deletion, and ransomware, Wasabi's taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage. eliminating overhead where it matters to deliver you results you can count on and won't break the bank. In fact, Wasabi is up to 80% less than those other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. Wasabi, another championship story. Check them out for free at wasabi.com.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
And now it's time for the lightning round. Pew, pew, pew.
All right, Jess, you're a bill pro. We already know that.
All right.
You have great bills of the week, but can you carry it over into the lightning round?
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous.
Okay. Today's lightning round question: what basic cooking skills do you think everyone should know? Also, I'd like to follow up with, what is a basic cooking skill that you kind of learned or mastered way later than maybe you thought you should?
Oh, interesting. a double header question.
Uh-huh. So they could be the same thing, maybe.
Okay. Okay, so I think that the cooking skill that everybody needs is to learn how to use a knife properly. Like, you know, there are knife skills classes in person. I still recommend going in person versus, you know, and clearly, you know, online is fine, but having someone show you how to hold a knife, telling you like what you're doing wrong, because pretty much every time you're in the kitchen, you are chopping something. And I think for so many people, that is like the main frustration, because we have people be like, oh, this meal turned out great, but it took me like 45 minutes to chop the vegetables. And I'm like, no, it should not have taken you 45 minutes. It's taking you like 20 max. And so I think like having that skill is not only like saves you time, but also hopefully will save you some like cuts and scrapes in the future. And it is a skill that I think people learn too late or never learn at all. And so they're just always frustrated in the kitchen. So I think that is the one cooking skill, not the one, but like I think that's such a foundational cooking skill that everybody needs to have.
I think that's a great birthday gift or Christmas gift. Like, people are up here giving people like axe throwing and room destroying. Like, when are you ever going to throw an axe in real life? All right. And when are you ever going to need to smash a computer in real life?
And we all know how to do that.
Right. But give your girl a gift of knives. Give your girl a gift of knives.
The silent K's.
Yes.
We love them.
I love that.
We love knowing things. Oh, man. Yeah, so many silent K's.
Who's next? Is it you or me?
Yeah. Well, you go.
Yes.
Okay. You know, I actually have a couple here getting on my high horse in the kitchen. Okay. But the first one I'll say is knowing what temperature and for how long to cook something, or even just heat up food. That's mostly it. Just reheating food, not trying to throw anyone under the bus. But the amount of times that I get asked or hear somebody ask to somebody else, like, how long should I heat this up for? Like, at what temperature should this be? And it's just like, your guess is kind of as good as mine, but like, my guess is really good. Like, why can't we just guess at this? Like, I don't know, in the microwave for 2 minutes. Try it out. Stakes are low. I don't know, in the toaster oven at 350 for 5 minutes. Then go back and take a look. See, is it warm? Do a finger test. Like, it's just like anyone else. Does anyone else
right now
see and hear and understand this? Like, you got I'm not gonna throw anyone under the bus.
It's me.
Also got me too. But like, you've gotten phone calls at work to ask you like how long to heat something up for. Just microwave skills.
My husband. Yes.
I said I wasn't going to throw anyone under the bus. But it's not just your husband.
Call me and ask me how long to microwave something.
You can fill it in yourselves.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is the most basic. You don't even have to know how to cook. Just like know how to take guesses at temperatures and timing
It
of the
helped me to
microwave.
figure out what the temperatures, like what's a bake temperature, what's a roast temperature, what's the broil temperature. Like it helped me to figure out like those things are different. Those denote different temperature ranges.
Yeah. I also think
maybe that's a starting point if you're like us.
People should know how to freeze things. I think just being more brave and daring with the freezer is another thing. Listen, it's low hanging fruit. I'm on a high horse with low hanging fruit. Like these are the basics. Like, hey, can I freeze this? I don't know. Give it a try. What could go wrong?
Take chances, make mistakes.
You defrost it again and you realize you don't like the consistency. Okay, not much is lost there.
I love the freezing thing because most things can be frozen. If you walk down your grocery store's freezer aisle, everything you want to eat has been frozen there.
Yep.
Right?
Pasta's there, rice is there.
Bread is there.
Bread, yes. All the vegetables, just look through all of the TV dinners and you'll see like every meal that you will want to eat has been frozen. So you can freeze your own.
Even food that is not frozen was maybe one time frozen.
But to your question of what have you learned too, I recently learned with an avocado, the trick that people are always like, all right, and then with the pit, like hack it with a knife and turn it. And then like, how do you get the pit off the knife without slicing your hand open? No, what you can do is identify that it is ripe. So that's another skill. I think that's another one. Picking out
she's still on
good quality fruits and veggies. That feels low hanging, but it's one of the reasons I can't do delivery grocery services because they're giving me just subprime veggies and fruits, and I feel like that's a skill that really needs to be honed for people. But the avocados in half, the side that has the pit, you just push on the skin with your thumb. It pops out. No need to slice and dice your hands. I just learned that recently.
Wow.
That's a good one because that is, I think, one of the biggest injuries that occupational therapists have to deal with. Like, the slicing of
a sliced hand.
Yeah. Again, get your girl a knife class. That's it. I think that's the moral. Of the
All right,
story.
Jen, it's your turn. I know I took like 5 turns, but
so I think one of those things that I learned maybe a little later was that the different temperatures for the oven. But I think another thing would be that oil crisps. I was not getting crispy roasted vegetables.
Yeah.
If they were crispy, they were burnt, right? But I didn't get the right crisp on what I wanted because I wasn't using enough oil or I wasn't coating the vegetables fully in oil. And I don't use a ton of oil, but that is what provides the crisp. So that was something I think everyone should know. And I didn't know that till I watched that documentary, the salt, fat, acid. So I learned so much heat. Yeah. I learned so much from that documentary.
That was good.
That was a good one to learn from.
Samin's a genius. And I think that's why often when you get roasted veggies at restaurants, they're better because they are willing to use a lot more oil than most home cooks want to use at home. But that is really why if you feel like your roasted veggies are not as good at home as the restaurant, it's because they use a lot of oil. So
there you go. There you go.
We're all learning something here. If people want to learn more from you, Jess, and get all your resources, where can I go?
Please brag about Cook Smarts and the new Cook Smarts app. And
we
brag about it all the time in the Friendletter. But please
Thank you. Yes. So Cook Smarts, go to cooksmarts.com. That's with an S, like book smarts. If you go to cooksmart.com, you'll see something totally different. But we launched our meal plan service in 2013, which means there are now like over 11 years worth of recipes and meal plans in there. Every week we have a new meal plan. And so that's just a lot of meal plans that we've done. So we've just had a lot of experience really understanding, how do we meal plan? simply, but how to also meal plan to reduce food waste, and how do we meal plan so that people actually will cook the meal plans. That's always usually the hardest
thing. Because you listen to the feedback of all of your people that use it. You have a Facebook group and people are always in there commenting. You take into consideration what they say.
We really understand like how people want to cook. And even though people always say like, we want healthy meals, it's always like the comfort meals and like the steak or the heavier things that get the best reviews. And so even though, we try to make sure there's lots of light, healthy meals, we also make sure there's also lots of comforting meals that you'll recognize from your childhood as well. But yeah, we're really excited because we're launching our app in January, our mobile app. We've been a web app since 2013, but really excited for iOS users as at least that they're able to download a mobile app. And it's so nice and slick. And it was such a fun process to work on. And our team has had such a great time putting that together this year. So I'm really excited about that.
That's so exciting. I love tools and resources that are going to help solve a very real daily issue.
I recommend CookSmarts all the time for people who are just starting with meal planning because it is so daunting. And all the things you just said are like from ingredient efficiencies to when to use an ingredient throughout the week, et cetera, so daunting and so important to success. And when you can pay somebody to do all that thinking for you and teach you what those important things are, like it's worth every penny for the amount of money that it will save you in the long run.
So, yeah, I do agree. It's like if we save you just from like one meal of takeout every month, it's totally worth it. But a lot of it, I come from like a cooking education background. That was always been my goal. And so I've tried to really work that into the service. So as you're making a meal, you're kind of getting a little bit of a cooking lesson each night, whether it's like knife skills of like how to properly chop like an onion or butternut squash to understanding, breaking down some of those cooking formulas. Because I mean, like at the end of the day, I would love for people to use us, learn, and then feel like they don't need us anymore. That's really my goal is like to help you do this thing that everybody needs to do because we all need to eat. Some of us choose to eat without meal planning, and it's really stressful. And, it results in a lot of wasted money and food. And so to help people with this, like, really important life skill to me, I think, and feeling like helping them master it and feeling like, oh, now I can go off and do my own thing, then that's great. And so I think, we've helped a lot of people get there. And some people still use this because they don't want to think about it. And some people are like, oh, I feel like I've got it. And then they move on. And that's also really great and gratifying for me.
Yay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us, Jess, and inspiring us and giving us so many great ideas around our food. It's been fun.
Thanks, ladies, for having me back. I so appreciate it.
That was great. And Jess failed to mention she has an extensive culinary history. She was on the Food Network.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. She competed for one of these like food chef spots in a TV show. And you know who she lost to? Guy Fieri.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
You're going to lose to anyone, I guess.
It's going to be Guy Fieri, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be it. So she is legit and who you want to learn cooking from. And
I want her holding my hand.
She could come here and just hold both of our hands. And
we together we could hold a knife.
2 knives. We'll have 2 extra hands. Yeah. But they include like videos in the meal plan too. So like I remember one time I was making something with wonton wrappers and I did not know how to fold them, and I didn't need to because right there in the meal plan was a short little video telling you how to do it.
I am such a visual learner. And again, frugalfriendspodcast.com/cooksmarts or /CS will get you that 2-week free meal plan and 20% off if you do choose to go with the subscription. If you are the person who's like, yeah, I'm new to this, I need my handheld for a little bit of time. This is going to be your best time. They don't run sales all the time, so it is worth taking advantage of it when they do.
Yeah, and we will say in the friend letter when they do, but it is something I think everyone should try for a year. And I'm just passionate about CookSmarts because they take the time to teach you these skills in the kitchen that extend beyond meal planning.
Yeah.
So that's just why I love them as as a service, and I just love them as a company. So I'm done. They didn't pay us to do this episode. If you do purchase a subscription through our link, we do get a commission, but like nobody's paying us to say this like a flat fee.
Mm-hmm. So thanks so much for being here, everyone. We do hope that this has been helpful and inspiring and helps you to make better meal plans and actually eat the food. Or be willing to pay for some of that convenience. Let somebody else make the meal plan for you. We just love your reviews too. We love food and we love your reviews.
These are two things I love most in life.
Like this one from Sanja6192. Gets better every week. You hear that?
Hey,
yeah, 5
like
stars.
that.
I started this podcast in the middle, right after hearing Jill on 3 and 30, and I just kind of skipped around with episodes that interested me. I forget which episode, but one of them had them saying, whatever you do, don't go back to the beginning and listen in order. So, of course, I had to do exactly that. This podcast started out great and got even better with age. So many action items and tips. Mindset stuff annoys me. Absolutely love all the grocery and investment episodes. Love you ladies at your work.
Oh my gosh. First of all, that was
6192.
me, Jen, on 3 and 30. And I'm so glad you said that because I was so excited to do 3 and 30. If you don't, it's a podcast for moms. And I did that interview in my house after our handyman had painted the side of he scratched the side of our fridge and then spray painted over it. And the fumes were so strong.
Whoa.
And I had been sitting in there. I thought it was going to dissipate. It didn't. So
paint is strong.
I was not in a good headspace to do that interview. And I thought I totally botched it. I was like, they're never going to air it. I did that interview in April and I think it aired in August.
Okay.
But I was just convinced she wasn't going to use it. And
look at
I'm
it's
so
how
glad
6192
that it
found
helped
us.
you.
I know.
That you thought we got better with age, like wine.
It's so lovely. If you are listening and you have not given us a rating or review, even if you haven't gone all the way back to the beginning, again, please don't. If you've just been listening for, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years even, you've not left us a rating or a review, please do that.
Yeah.
That would mean the world to us. It's so fun to hear what you have to say about it, but it also is so helpful in other people finding us as well.
Yeah. And if you want to buy our book that is available now, Buy What You Love Without Going Broke, we would love that. And maybe you leave a rating and review for the book. So
that'd be
thank
nice
you.
too.
Love you. See you next time.
Bye.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Siriani.
Okay. I had a frugal fail with food.
Oh, I love all those
yesterday.
F words. Tell me about it. I don't love that you had a fail, but if you learned from it, I loved it. Tell me about it.
I don't know if I learned from it. Maybe a little bit. But so we've been trying out these last 2 weeks a co-working space.
Yes.
You, me, and Eric. Because we got 2 weeks free. Speaking of 2 weeks free somewhere, 2 weeks free at this co-working space. We're like, yeah, let's try it out. Let's see if this is something that would be worth spending some money on. Being able to just get out of the house, have access to some of the extra space that an office like this could provide to us. Anyways, we've been packing our lunches. So, I'm used to working from home and just eating whatever I have in my fridge. So it's been a little bit extra effort to need to think ahead, pack a lunch, take it. So yesterday we went, just Eric and I, and we just decided to pack PB&J sandwiches. And we had leftover sourdough loaf bread, which was really good when it was freshly baked. Has been fantastic bread to have on hand. It's definitely on its last leg, and we cut it kind of thick. By we, I mean me. I cut it kind of thick.
Because she loves bread.
I do love bread, yeah. But then paired with the peanut butter and jelly, it was so dense and on the verge of being stale and had such a specific kind of flavor that didn't totally coalesce with the peanut butter and jelly. And it made it somewhat inedible. I ended up pulling it apart and more so like treating it like an open face because it was far too much bread to peanut butter and jelly. But because the bread was so kind of hard and dense, not crunchy, just dense.
Wow,
you like
that's a lot.
almost couldn't get enough peanut butter and jelly in the middle, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then even no matter how, So just to help improve the ratio of condiments to bread, I pulled it apart. And even still, I couldn't hardly finish it. I probably ate like a third of the sandwich.
Wow.
Thank goodness. We also brought chippies because I don't entirely hate myself.
Absolutely.
An apple and an avocado. So these things did sustain us. But Eric and I both were just looking at each other like, this is what frugal feels like. Like, this is what a frugal fail feels like.
Yeah.
This is not good. But you know what? It wasn't bad. Like, the food wasn't rancid. So we weren't going to go out to go get ourselves food. I don't totally know what the takeaway is because we both were like, well, we got fed.
You're
like, food is in our
experimenting.
belly.
It's a new season, like co-working, even though I don't know if we'll do it long term, would be a new season, would require new experimenting in the way that we eat and spend money.
Yeah.
And this was part of your experimentation that just,
It was especially bad because you've got other people in the space heating up their lunches. Oh, that just sounded so good. Smelled. There was definitely some Indian food being heated up. And here we are with just like the grossest peanut butter and jelly. It felt, it like had me having flashbacks to like my elementary school days where it is what lunch felt like for me growing up. My mom would always do the like grain birdseed bread and like the all natural whatever and something, homemade, which I can appreciate now. But like growing up, it never was the cool lunch that you're looking forward to. It was just always something you kind of just suffered through, wishing someone would trade their lunch with you, but knowing if I don't even want this, they're not going to want it. But I really wanted some of that Indian food.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just still a little bit fresh for us. But we're going to do better. We're going to do better next time.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thanks.
And here we have travelers in their natural habitat enjoying guaranteed 4 p.m. checkout at fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel, and they don't even see what's coming at them.
We're in. We got the table.
Yep, with Resi Priority Notify, they're alerted when hard-to-get reservations open up.
Reservation for 2? Save the best for last.
Thanks to Amex Platinum, the last day vacation brings yet another experience. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on what your kids are spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/iHeart.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with the Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.